Evening everybody, 7 o'clock, big Wednesday, word from Bishop tonight. Hope you've had a great day, and for those of you that were able to go back to work, extend your bubble a little bit, I hope that you've had fun. I enjoyed my Zoom with the ladies today at 1 o'clock, Wednesday's 1 o'clock, that's cool. But tonight's the night, we're going to have another Wednesday, hopefully maybe two more Wednesday nights, maybe 2 more Sundays, and then we'll be able to hopefully get back and be with you all again. But here's Bishop for your Wednesday night feast. Bless you.
Good evening, nice to see you again. I'm glad you can join us, and of course all of our beautiful Destiny Church members and iwi tapu and anybody, some Man Up and Legacies all over the country, and welcome to Australia, and anybody else around the world, and of course locals, visitors, friends, frenemies, enemies, and everybody else, you're all welcome. But tonight I want to continue on giving you the Word of God and having a feast of His Word and a bit of revelation tonight always, but also some motivation, inspiration for us, and to give you a bit more perspective on what's happening around our world, in our country particularly, but also with our lives. Well, looks like we're ready to break out soon, and I guess for all of you, you'll be back into the life that you foresee for yourself. And I believe that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be going into something totally fresh, new, and vibrant, and filled with God's purpose. So I want to pray, and then we're going to have a little bit of time together. Father, I thank you, Lord, today, all this evening, for your hand upon our lives, for our families and extended families, and Lord, for our friends, people that we know who have maybe had a difficult time. We pray, Lord, that you would be with them, comfort them, and give them peace in this time. But we thank you most of all, Lord, for life. I'm grateful that I'm alive, and I'm even more grateful that you have called us out to be saved, delivered, and sent to do your will. In Jesus' name we pray, and I think I can hear you all say, Amen. Awesome. Right, tonight, who is going to shape the future of New Zealand? Who is going to make our tomorrows what they're going to be? You know, it is very important to understand that there is always something, somebody, an organisation, it could be a person, a political party, whatever. There's something or somebody, a group that will try to shape, to bring their beliefs, to impose their ideology, their customs, their laws, their ways, or whatever it is. It's just how it stands. And whether you believe this or not, it's a fact that somebody will try to shape the future. Not only for them, but for you as well, unless we take a closer look at this. And that's what I want to do tonight. And I'm going to read you a couple of scriptures. One here from Revelation chapter 4. And I'll read it for you. And it says this, that verse 1, after these things I looked, and behold, a door standing open. That's very important. There's a door standing open. Now, that's not the door into your kitchen or to your lounge. This is a door in another dimension of the Spirit. I looked and I behold a door. Just imagine if that was the word of the Lord when you're in your house and you looked, behold, I saw my bedroom door. Or the door to wherever. It's this thing that is over and above. And I say that, it's funny, it was funny to me saying it, but I'm saying it because there are many people who are not on the same line or level of thinking and perception. And so tonight I'm going to help you elevate your whole internal wiring and your circuit system in your mind. We're going to have a mind renewal, a mind lift, and you're going to get something of an insight into your own brain, mind, and that whole working in there, because it is critical to your life. For you to go in tomorrow, your brain or your mind has got to go there first. Your mind will go into tomorrow before you go into it. In other words, you'll be thinking about it. Your mind has the ability to traverse out there in the spirit before you physically actually go somewhere, arrive to whatever you're thinking, dreaming, or envisioning. So it's very powerful. There's a door standing open in heaven. Well, there it is. So there is something that can open a certain entry point into another dimension of the Spirit. This is important. And he says a voice he heard was like a trumpet speaking with him, saying, come up here. Come up, elevate. Lift now from where you are. It's easy to be stuck in everyday thinking in your mind because we get into a habit. We are creatures of habit. We sort of follow lines or patterns of behaviour, and we just do things. Sometimes we're doing things we're not thinking because you've done it so many times that you come out to the breakfast table, you have something and you get your food. See, quite often you just, in the day, it would be interesting to just watch yourself, if you could, and just see how you're doing things without extra adding any type of creativity to it, without having enough awareness to stop and think, no, I'm not going to have Weet-Bix this morning, I'm going to have Iron Man food or whatever, or these other types of cereals, or, you know, not going to have toast and the marmite I always have. People, we tend to get stuck making our favourites. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that when our mind is not engaged, you can actually make that your sum total of your thinking in your life for a day, and then for the rest of the next day and the week and so forth, and suddenly it becomes one's life. And what is the most powerful gift that God has given to you? The most creative force, the most intelligent force, the ability to be more switched on than a whole acre of the most sophisticated computers and systems and whatever you like in technology in the world. It equals only the dullest brain. In other words, whoever, can you imagine that? The dullest brain is still more exceptionally brilliant than a whole acre filled with the best technology and computers that's ever been created in the world. That's incredible. It shows you how much we really don't use that brilliant gift of the mind. And you know what? If you see that in the sense of how God gives us a mind, and that's how our body, our soul, and our physical life is moved by understanding and moved by the things that come from our mind. It's too brilliant, it's too much to talk about in detail, but it might pay some time to have a look at neurology or the whole study of the mind. Plenty of places you can go online to and see the brilliance of what you're carrying that's holding your ears apart. It's called a brain, but it's more than just a brain. And I'm going to be touching on this because it's very powerful, because he says here, he says to come up into another dimension, and I will show you things which must take place after this. So he's really taking them into the future, and he's going to be able to see what's going to happen. Now that all came about because he could have entry into another dimension, and he was able to exercise something that he already has in him. And this is the whole thing about it. You don't need to try and go out to find anybody special. You don't have to try and find something from any information or news or prophecies or some magical thing or some prophet. You've got it in you. It's always been in there. The brilliance to be able to get, receive and know what you need to know to have the greatest life. So look at this. I want to just sort of take this a bit now, and let's just talk about this for a moment, because when we're talking about having the ability to see, one of the greatest things that you'll find that's a beautiful God-given gift to you, it's a part of your spiritual blood, is the ability to create. We're very creative beings. We want to be able to create, to have ideas, to see a little bit ahead and to know things before they actually happen. And that things that are not, we want to bring them into existence. The very nature of the children of faith from our father Abraham is where we picked it up. And of course, it's a part of the spiritual gifts that you have, but it's our whole DNA, wanting to not be conformed to the world, its systems. And the systems of the world don't suit the saints. Why do we try and fit into a system that God said he's rejected? What we're supposed to be living in is a whole entire different dimension. It's called the kingdom. It's called the spirit world. And you'll often see in the Bible, many times, in the prophets, the Old Testament, where, for instance, they would be able to have the ability to see outside of their natural sight and be able to find themselves in another world. Beautiful thing, like starting way back with Enoch. And of course it goes through with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph. You'll see that they all operated in this incredible gift called vision and dreams, or dreams and visions. In fact, it was so powerful that it was a part of the whole nation of Israel and their ability to be able to perceive God better than anybody else. And it goes right on through to the New Testament, and even the promise from the prophet. And it was actually clearly stated by Peter that on that day the promise of the Holy Spirit would come full on the new church, and the old men would dream dreams and the young men would see visions. Isn't that incredible? So dreams and vision, it's right through the Bible, the ability to be able to see beyond your natural eyesight. I'm talking about seeing in a mental state about things that are not necessarily through your natural eye, but you can see it. You ever tried it when you're obviously doing something or whatever, or talking or listening? You can be looking at something but not necessarily seeing it. You can be looking outside and be seeing something totally different inside your mind. You know, the ability to be able to have double vision, that you're seeing something with your natural eyes, but you can be seeing something in your mind's eyes that's clearly totally different to what your physical eyes are seeing. And that's important, because that's an area of the ability that everybody has to be able to see beyond the limitations of just your natural eyesight. And you'll find that it goes even further, where it says that if you're going to be able to live a life that is a life that's been shaped for you, and you have got a life just for you, everybody has. Even though we're a part of a great vision and a mission together, every single person has their course in life. You have a destiny to live. You have a future to walk out. God has got you born not to be lost in a crowd, not to lose your identity, to be anonymous and just to be a blend. No, you're very unique. And that's the beautiful thing about God making you, me, and the next person with incredible capacities and gifts, and the combination of personality and the potential and the talent. He puts that all together, and then on top of that he adds the supernatural, the Holy Spirit. When you are born again, it enlightens, it sparks up something over and beyond just human abilities. Isn't that great? That I'm actually a supernatural, you are a supernatural person. So that when we know how to activate that, how to walk in that, you begin to be able to be a seer. And I mean in the word S-E-E-R, seer. You become very perceptive in your senses, not restricted to just the sight, taste, smell, hearing of your physical person, but now you have spiritual senses that match your physical senses. So there's a spiritual smell, there is a spiritual vision, there's the ability to hear over and beyond just your natural hearing, the sensing of the intuitiveness of your inner spiritual man that is able to be able to pick up stuff and know stuff without learning, to bypass your brain and your knowledge and immediately know something and perceive something without learning it, without having any prior knowledge. You can actually pick up something and have a gut feeling, as it's called, this intuitive feeling. Isn't it incredible what you have? You'll kick yourself after a while, knowing that you're just sort of walking around the house, and even in our confined state, that we really just operate on probably, about 5 out of 1,000. The mind's not really working. We're not exercising spiritual senses. We just rely on whatever hits our smell physically and whatever hits our eyes in the natural world. We're so accustomed to it that we go to sleep in our spiritual life, asleep in our eyesight, asleep in our hearing, asleep in our perceptions, and the ability to have that intuitiveness about something. Man, feel alive in this. You're spiritual first before you are natural. So I want to go on about this, because most people, because people will be trying to do that now. Who's going to impose their agenda? Who's going to impose their ideology of life? Whose belief system, whose ways are going to be brought into this world? There'll be people trying to do it. There'll be political parties, there'll be politicians, there'll be certain organisations and leaders. It's incredible that most people are neutral. They're in neutral when it comes to actively and progressively promoting their tomorrow, trying to reach into the next level of life to be able to have some type of, mastery over their destiny. It's amazing that how many people wait for information. So news and media are only reporting information that's history, that's happened. You never see any media being prophetic, like telling you what's to come and what is happening and what will, they never, it's always past. It's something that has happened already. And so the whole world and those who are outside of the Spirit, they're wired to everything that's past tense, that's history, that's happened. So they wait for something to come and hit them and then respond. But to proactively go out and then begin to be an architect in your tomorrow, to shape your future, to actually have the audacity or to even think that you can take care of Thursday and Friday and Saturday, that you can look at next month or 7 months' time or a year. Let's face it, the whole destiny movement came out of this way of practicing vision, the power of seeing, and a mind that holds it, then the ability to activate it into the physical world. So what previously wasn't in this natural world, I've imposed it by sheer vision and what you've caught in your mind and then spoke it. Amazing, isn't it? To speak it, then you see it. You've seen it, but you can't see it in the physical world until you speak it. So God in the beginning said, when he saw chaos, and it's the same, you got the same creative DNA in your spiritual bloodline, that you see something that's not there, or something that's a mess, something that needs to be altered. You need to hear this, because we are imposing a higher order of life, of dimension. The spirit world is the parent world over the material world, the natural world. The natural world is not stronger than the spirit world. Because you can't see the spirit world, it does not make it less than the material world. And because we live in a material world and we see and touch things that are present reality because they're there, past tense though, because you already know they're there, we think that's the higher order, and then many people write off the spiritual world, even Christians. So when you bring things from that world, which is where everything had its origins. So in the beginning, God created, recreated, he formed. He did it by first of all speaking, and then he saw it physically. But he already saw it before in the spirit. So you'll notice in Genesis chapter 1 verse 3 and 4, or 2 and 3 I should say, he says, let there be light. And so he said first, and then he looked and saw the light, and it was good. So seeing came after saying. He said, then he saw. Right? But he saw it first in the spiritual world. You see it first, then you speak it. So when you see it in the spirit, you then speak it, then you see it. Wow. That's awesome, isn't it? So if you checked out Genesis chapter 1, God said it, then he saw it. And so the same thing, I'm going to give you the principle of that, is that he saw it in the spirit though first. But then he had to speak it into the physical world to actually see it tangibly materialize. For instance, Destiny Church wasn't in existence before 1990. First of all, I saw it in my spirit, which was in a part of my mind, which I'll tell you about in a moment, why people can't operate in this life. Believe me, once you get this, you start to pick up stuff, you start to see things before they happen, you're aware of spirits around you, you're aware of that means you have discernment with people and all sorts of things, but mostly your ideas and shaping your tomorrow is the most powerful thing for you and your family and for anything. So destiny, first of all, was something germinated in through the open door into the heavens, and so therefore come up higher. That's what he said in Revelations. Come up higher. He's not talking about physically coming up higher. He's talking about an elevation in that part of your mind, which I'll talk about in a moment. And suddenly a door opened in the spirit world. He could see what was to come. So now you begin to bring the higher power, creative power, the force of the spirit world, the parent world to the natural world, means you can impose your will upon it or speak into it to actually alter it to create things in your tomorrow or your future that are not there yet. You literally can talk to diseases, talk to health, talk to situations, talk to all sorts of innate objects. Jesus spoke to a fig tree and cursed it because it had no fruit at that time, and it actually died because of a word from a higher creative source that gave that thing life from another world. Right? He also spoke to waves and water. So I'm talking about innate creative things in the material world are subject to the higher dimension of the Spirit only when a believer has accessed the Spirit dimension and now has that in his words when he speaks, or she speaks. So you can speak ordinary words, or you speak the word of faith. And that's why Paul says this word of faith that we speak. That's why he says we speak, we believe. 2 Corinthians 4:13, we believe and therefore we speak. And with the same spirit of faith, we believe, therefore we speak. Wow. So what you are speaking and your words are powerful. So you've got to remember, never fear your future because God is already there. So when you go out into the future, God is already there, so you'll begin to do his plan and his will. And that's the great thing about this. So people, things and situations and circumstances, they will try to hustle us into their future. But we've got to take proactive measures to say, no, we will not be hustled in by the loudest voice over here, or what somebody is imposing through some political agenda, or what's happening in an organisation you're working at, or what's coming through family members around you in your particular family line. It can come from any person, any way, any organisation. So that's why when you come to a point of mastering your own destiny, then you are basically shaping your own future. Then you are comfortable within yourself to walk through all sorts of voices, all sorts of circumstances. So like a virus does not change your world. Your world has already been shaped by you. And so that world now has put you in line with God's purpose. And so nothing on the outside can actually change what is bigger on the inside of you. You got me? And that's why I'm a big sharer of vision. That's why I spend a lot of time as a leader casting vision, putting into people's hearts and into their spirit that you have to see bigger than what you see on the outside. You have to begin to reach further and deeper into you than what you do into the outside, into the world. Because the treasures and the mysteries and the revelation that God puts in you is greater than anything on the outside of you. Remember, what you can see with the eye is temporary. The Bible says everything that's seen is temporary, and what's not seen is eternal. And so he's talking about the fact is that if you start operating more in that world, then you begin to restructure the environment around you. So the environment after a while around you has to alter itself to accommodate you and your vision in God. That's what you do. That's why he said to Abraham, look up to the stars and see. I want you to count them. If you can count the stars, you can count your offspring. He was teaching him and opening his mind to the power of vision, that how he could bring something from out inside here, not out, but out, in, and out, that he could have the promise of that materialize in this world if he saw the power of vision. The power of vision and dreams enables us to be able to bring the promises of God into very clear focus and make them come to pass. Yeah, I love this. It's very powerful. So let's look at a couple of things here so that we can, I want to read to you another scripture here in Romans chapter 8 verse 6. And it says here that to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life, peace. Carnally minded, spiritually minded. Already the Bible has given you the fact is that there's two types of minds. or two minds or two parts of your mind that basically are predominantly places that are working inside of you. It says there that life, you're either living or dying. Let's put it like this. You're either living now or you're dying, based or according to the condition of your mind. Get that? You're either living or you're dying now according to the condition of your mind. So says Romans 8:6, because it says you're either dying if you're carnally minded, if you're spiritually minded, you're living. So that tells you a whole lot about how to maintain life physically. Your organs and your own body hears your voice more than anything else from anywhere else. So for instance, if I'm saying in my head, I feel tired, well, you're going to be tired. The body just prepares itself to shut down. If you say, I'm weak or I don't feel like it, it's not going to happen. Exactly. Your body prepares for what is coming out of the control centre, out of headquarters. And your internal chatter is very, very important to conditioning your body, physical part of your body, your organs, senses, your soul, which is your appetites, your passions, your desires, your personality, and also your spirit. So you need to be talking more with your spirit in a spiritual mind. And when you start getting that right, you start seeing your life become alive. It's aware. You become very sensitive to things now that when you were not in the spirit, you can't believe how dull you were, how dead we were in our mind. Honestly, some people walk around and you wonder what happened to their brains. It's like, they're not aware of anything. They don't pick up stuff. They're not thinking. They're just letting life hit them. And whatever the news is and whatever somebody says and whatever the day does, and there is nothing coming out to actually exercise any type of advantage and opportunity for them. You'll be amazed at how brilliant you are, how gifted you are, what you got. So let's just count a little bit longer to see if we can spark that open mind in you, the open door. You just know it comes. You don't need to look up to heaven for it. It's all in here, and you'll feel it kind of like whoop, like a trap door opening up, and then suddenly light comes in. So it says a spiritual mind, a mental state. So when your mind is spiritualized, and what I mean by that is not somebody that's a flaky raisin cake thing that's always sort of religiously bound and talking all that stuff, but I mean a real spiritual mind that's been spiritualized is talking about an awareness that you've put the Word of God in there, that your life has been lived with a mind that you've purposely said, I want the Spirit of God to begin to sanctify my mind. I want my mind to be touched by God's Word and by God Himself. It is a practice, an art, what we call meditation, where God told Joshua, in Joshua chapter 1, you know the one, where He said to Joshua, meditate on the Word day and night, and therein is your success. But if you meditate on this, you'll prosper and you'll be successful in all your ways. That is really simple to grab a hold of. That your prosperity and your success is in actually getting your mind sensitized, brightened up, enlightened, aware. Then it's spiritualized, and you suddenly find doors open for you. You find that you have the ability to see opportunities and create opportunities, because that's what a spiritual mind does. So he's saying, and this is the thing here, that when we see a mind that's spiritual, we're talking about in the sense that he's saying you've got to understand what's inside your mind. For instance, the mind is broken up into two main pieces, and if I put it like that, it's not a very good way of putting it, but I'm no neurologist, but I can tell you something from how the Bible talks about it. And we have the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. You basically have two spheres, and that's the conscious, subconscious. It's the mind that is at the forefront, It's usually what we call the mind that's at the surface, and then there's a mind that's deep. And so the Bible is also clear with it, although it gives us three meanings of how the mind is used, or departments of the mind. So let's just take a closer look at it in Ephesians chapter 1 verse 18. It says, Paul says, I pray that the eyes of your understanding, that's incredible language. He's now talking about eyes inside the mind, understanding, might be what? Enlightened. In fact, if I read that whole thing to you, I should do it justice. Here it is here. He says, now I pray that the eyes of your understanding, I know many of you know this, but I want to give you a little bit of an exegesis on this so you can get revelation. So he's talking about the inner eye, so you can see. So it's those eyes he wants to open. I want to open your eyes inside your picture theatre, your understanding. Now, he says, being enlightened. So there has to be, and what I want to do tonight is to suddenly have a snap. It's like a quick bolt of light that comes into your mind. Because the devil says it darkens the mind. That when we live in the world for a long time, one of the things the enemy does is he dulls the mind. See, Paul had the huge task, and it often frustrated him, and you'll see it in Hebrews, where he quite often said to the believers, he says, I can't teach you anymore because you're so dull of understanding that revelation can't get through. Now, there's an interesting thing there. He is basically saying that a dull mind actually can't let light into it, or light come out through it, because it is too closed down, darkened. Now, the enemy has done that. So when you live outside of Christ and your mind is given over to all sorts of free thinking and depraved or whatever else, or it's just not disciplined, it's not even touched by the Spirit, it's actually darkened. So a lot of people think that when we're talking spiritual things, they don't perceive it, they can't understand it. And the Ephesians says their mind is darkened and it's dulled. The dull mind has got to be opened so that it has less in the sense of darkness, so they don't know past what they're living in now. That's what we're talking about. So it's very hard to see the next hour, let alone the next day and tomorrow in a week, not talking about a year or 5 years or 10 years. So he says here that your mind be enlightened, that you may know what is the hope of his calling. Look at that. So there is no way of you knowing what is the hope, or the beauty and the joy, the lift of knowing this is my call. This is what I'm to do in life. You can't get it because you know what? You're not enlightened. That part of that mind that I'm about to show you in a moment is not yet being lit up. I want to light it up tonight. I'm going to light it up at the end of this. Stay with me, because you're going to notice the difference right where you are, that when that lights up, suddenly you're going to wake up and see the world in a whole new different way. You're going to have the ability to see things, hear things, and know things that you thought you would never, ever dream of knowing before. Beautiful thing. So here it is. So you're calling by this. What is the riches of the glory of his inheritance in the saints? So there's another big one. You don't know what is the whole deal of what Christ has, what he has for us, not only in the afterlife, which is even very difficult for my 40-year spiritual mind to be able to grasp. No eye can see and yet can understand the depth, the length, the breadth and the height of the love of Christ, but to actually understand that no man has seen, and yet he's revealed it by his Spirit. No eye has seen, no ear heard, no heart has ever perceived or conceived what God has prepared for us, but he has revealed it. See, there you go. It's right there. Right there. You can see things and know them, can feel it. So, and what is the exceeding greatness of his power toward us who believe, according to the working of his energy, or his mighty power, which he has worked in Christ when he raised them from the dead. Yeah, there's some stuff there. I mean, I can carry on there because it's got such high, but it's too much right there now. Could you see that? The grasp of the exceeding, all your answers for your questions are right there. All your answers you had today and all the back there, all your answers for your future are right there. You would not need anybody telling you any more about what your future is. You would not need another organisation, another person, another thing trying to give you hope about your financial future, about your work future. You see, when you have to go outside to pull something from somewhere else, that means you've reached your limit within. And I bet you that limit is hardly off the launching pad. You have so much more, and the restrictions of this having a darkened, dull mind to the spiritual things has actually handicapped, disadvantaged you from being able to have all this insight and all this level that comes into the material world and what you can have, what you can be, and what you can do. Can you see the engagement, the riches and the treasures? What God has for us, not only just in the afterlife, He's talking about now. Right here and now. You can have that. That all comes through that thing. If you've got hair on it, and your hair, or if you're bald, it doesn't matter. It's what's in that skull. Holding our ears apart. It's amazing what God's put there. So He's saying now, and so when He says the eyes of your understanding, I've got to tell you this because, and this is the good part, so just hold on for a few more minutes and then I'll let you go and do what you're doing tonight. But this is important from this particular passage. So He's saying about inside the mind, understand, the eyes of understanding, that word understanding or mind, and there's three words that are in the Greek that are actually translated for mind. And this one, it's the word dianoia. Dia, D-I-A, or dia, through. Dia means through. So noia means basically imagination or the deep mind. So He's saying it's through the deep mind or the imagination part of your mind, the subconscious mind. So the other part of your mind, which is dialogismos, which means through the reason or the intellectual mind. And then you've got another word which you're familiar with, nous. Heard the word nous? Use your nous. So He's got the nous to do it. That's a Greek word, and the word nous for mind just basically means brain. So brain is the organ. And when the organ, the brain, or that part of that organ starts working, it's called the mind. So the brain's the physical part of the mind. So when the brain's working, it's the mind. Now there's thinking, there's ideas, there's memories, there's dream ability, there's thoughts, there's awareness. It's incredible. So He's saying, when you have a spiritual mind, He's not talking about through the reason or the logic of that part of your brain, dialogismos. That means through the logic or the reasoning mind. So if you want to reach into the spiritual part of your mind, you've got to come away from the analytical part of your mind, the brain. So that's interesting because you've still got to have a good mind in the sense of reason and logic. That's education. So you're educated through dialogismos in the Greek, and that's used with, so God says, I will put my laws into their minds. And He's talking, it's the words dialogismos. It's through the mind, memory. So it's basically information and education. But dianoia is not that, it's the actual spiritual part of your mind. And it's akin to when you can actually have daytime mental pictures and have nighttime visions called dreams. So those parts are the parts that God is saying, when I give Abraham a vision, when Joseph had a dream of the sheaves in the field, and he dreamed of the stars, and he had the analogy of knowing that my sheaf was this. So he saw the pictures through dianoia. And dianoia was the part not to deal with words, which was in the dialogismos, or the conscious part of his mind. It was in the subconscious part of his mind that had the ability to open up to a world to see, and see without restrictions, without limitations, and without any type of constraint of what you can imagine and see. And so that part of it doesn't even discern between what is imaginary and what is actually real. In other words, what it's seen as imaginary is as real if it was real. Incredible, isn't it? You ever had one of those dreams where you woke up in the morning and you swear that that thing was so real, just as you were jumping off the cliff or something and your parachute didn't open? You know, it was like, it was so real, and you thought that was your life and you were over. And then you woke up and you thought, oh my God, I'm in lockdown, I'm okay, I've got my life back. Isn't that incredible? That was like it was real as real. Probably could have used a better illustration, but you got my point. See how powerful it is? Well, that's what you take. And when it's sanctified, and when that's open, now the dreams come through. That's how I found Destiny Church, as I said to you. That's how I found how to build the DNA of Destiny. That's how Two Tangata Riders came. That's how the Man Up Legacy came. The men's ministry came. The ministry for my life came. It all starts right there through dialogismos, meaning they have the vision, the dream of it. I can see that thing sometimes in the daytime when you're wide awake. Daytime mental visions. So it's very clear and vivid. And now it gets stronger, and so when you start to open that side of it, becomes a mental picture. It's very strong. Then you start speaking it now. That's what I'm talking about. It becomes bigger than the actual, what you call the real world. So when that becomes a lot more enhanced, and my eyes and my understanding are enlightened to it, it becomes a reality. So I start seeing conference. And what I see in the conference now is germinated not on my logismos, my word part, and the reason and intellect. It's important because I use intellect to connect things, to do things that are reasoned and logic and orderly and information and education. But revelation doesn't come by that channel. It comes through dialogismos. So it's opened into the spirit dimension. And it's through that I can see it. And then I begin to know the picture of it. Then it becomes powerful enough for me then to speak it. And so I start speaking it as I see it. And sometimes it's not complete. It's by no means a perfect picture. But once you start to set sail, as they say, then you can easily be guided by the wind to see where it goes and to get a bigger picture as you start to venture out into open waters. That's always been it for me. I don't try and see everything perfectly. Sometimes you can't see it at all, and it takes just faith to push into that direction. They may not be clear like that, but faith is so strong. And once you have that picture coming in there, it's a beautiful thing. How's that? How you doing? All right? I'll just have 1 or 2 more minutes, but you get that? That's very powerful. So you know where to aim your life. You know where to aim your life into your future when you can see the picture of where you're going. And so it's very important where you aim your life. Get it right. You only have one shot at it on this side of glory. And so when you know that's God's purpose for your life, because it's all coming through there, and it comes, and it's great, isn't it? Because one of the things that really confounded the Pharisees and the Sadducees, the teachers and all the people of the city and politicians and at that time, was they realized that Peter was a fisherman and his brother, and they also recognized all the other guys were just ordinary people. They were average people. And they said, these guys, they're unlearned. Isn't that a bit of a derogatory, deriding, downsizing type of way of thinking? But that's typical of people. And they made judgment on Peter and all the rest of them because they didn't, in their eyes, live in the high areas of life involved in the intellectual side of things so much. But these guys here, they said, were untrained and uneducated. And yet they were doing things that were over and beyond any education institution, any learning institution, anywhere that they could find all of that type of information, education. It could not compare with the spiritual knowledge and then the power to do things that was over and above what they could ever learn in 100 lifetimes. And you know what they said? They noticed that they've been with Jesus. And there it is right there. They've been with Jesus. When you've been with Jesus, you see learning, education, and all this formal stuff that involves having to try and have enough brain capacity to use to get that information knowledge, you can bypass it. It's no excuse to leave that side alone, but you bypass it and you find that there's an incredible world of revelation that comes through simply having your dianoia, the eyes of my inside mind opened up to such a way that I can grasp what you're saying. Okay, so that brings me to this last point here. It's like God, it takes Abraham. So this, when you have that vision, and I've put this, and I wrote this because I thought, wow, you know, when you're able to see like that, and once you have that, you can impose into this natural world, from the spiritual world, your agenda, your customs, your ways, my ways. That's what Brian Tamaki has done, and why New Zealand, and the parts of New Zealanders that don't like it, and they have their anti or resistance, and they just hate you because of what you stand for, or they hate you because they ain't you, whatever it is. But you know why? Because in fact I'm doing something. What I'm talking about is not just hot air. What I do is I'm imposing through the airwaves like this, through my pulpit, through my life. I'm putting out there the ways of Christ, the kingdom life. And so I'm bringing it to bear into this world. And of course, it threatens them, threatens people, because they find now that the kingdom of God is rolling into town, rolling into homes, rolling into wherever it might be. And you know, when that happens, you have, it puts you in the life you're in now, it takes you out of that into another life. That's the thing I wanted to say. So this is how God interjects you into another position of life. So I got this life, say you live in your life, but the moment you catch the dream, like two of Judy's and two tangata riders and Man Up and Legacy, the whole destiny movement is in itself a vision and a dream, because it was born out of heaven through that door in the spirit, come into this world. So when you have that, you see how it's interjected something into your life that's taken you outside of this other life, and now it's repositioned you into this life. That's amazing, isn't it? That's what happened to Abraham and Joseph. It takes them out of that life they're in, and it interjects them into another position of life. Suddenly Abraham's taken a different course in life. Father of faith. He begins to go out and do God's will, and he finds himself now beginning to be a very powerful figurehead in the Christian faith. What about Joseph? That thing there comes, the dream comes, and now it interjects his normal life, and now it throws him, catapults him into that supernatural life. See? So now he's one of the boys, the brothers, and by all sense and purposes, he's just doing an average, ordinary life, has a dream of the sheaves of life. His is standing up and the others are bowed down. Then he sees the stars, counts himself and his brothers in it, but he says his star is the one that all the other stars bow down to. Now that thing throws him into another position of life. And now he's doing God's will. See what I mean? So the life you're doing now, we've all done. We've been thrown into another position, into another life. I mean, it comes through the destiny vehicle and the vision we have, but that's doing God's will. Isn't that fantastic? So here's Abraham, and that's his great-grandson, Joseph. So now, because the interjection of the vision that Abraham saw, so his son was Isaac, his grandson was Jacob, and Jacob, of course, had the 12 sons, and the other, that's Joseph, so that's his great-grandson. Well, they changed their families, they changed their cities, they changed their nation. It's the same thing what I'm doing here. If I had little Viana here, or Kayla here, then I'm standing here, and that's the same thing. So what I'm doing and what's already happening for my great-granddaughter is already in her life now. It's catapulted her already into a future that's been shaped by a great-grandfather and her father and so forth. See the power of that? Very powerful. Well, God bless you. I should finish there. I've enjoyed tonight, and I'm going to pray now to actually just to light up something in your mind that will open another dimension, so that you can suddenly just catch this. With all the stuff I've talked, you're just going to catch it, and you're going to begin to see that a spiritual mind is going to begin to fix all your problems, heal your body, heal your soul, give you answers to questions, and you're going to be able to come up here, he says, and I will show you things that are yet to come. Father, I pray in the name of Jesus right now for the beautiful people that are listening and watching this and have heard this message. I pray right now for the touch of God right down into the very internal physical workings of your brain, but right down inside the brain is your dianoia, that part that is able to see and communicate with the spirit world and with God himself. I pray in the name of Jesus, Lord, enlightened, open the eyes of their understanding, the dianoia, that they might be enlightened to know the hope of their calling, the inheritance of the wonderful treasures and the beauties that Christ has in the saints, and to know the very power of God that raised Jesus from the dead. It is so full and rich. Show us together, powerful. In Jesus' name, Lord, I thank you right now. I pray for everybody to be so excited, happy, ready to go, ready to do what we're going to do in the next. I just got that. I can see it, but I can't say it right now. If I say it, it'll come, and it's going to be a reality of where we're going to move for the rest of this year. It's just a beautiful thing. God bless you. Love you all. Thank you very much.
See you Sunday, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Same place, same time.
Bye.